Hello, welcome to the channel. I am Daisy Ex Machina, the drag queen detective who investigates all things speculative in science fiction, fantasy, and horror. And this is a Get Ready With Me where I get into drag to film a video later today. And we have Lynette. Yay, is it just you and I, Lynette? Say hello if you're here. Oh, and we have Frank. All righty. So how is your reading going this week? I'm still reading City of Last Chances by Adrian Tchaikovsky. It's his epic fantasy, Tyrants and Philosophers. And it's so different because I was talking a little bit about it last week. I didn't get that far in. I'm in like 70% now. It's about this fantasy city that's next to this weird magical woods, and they've been encroached and are occupied by this sort of dystopian 1984-ish type society that is there's a rebellion brewing against it type of thing. Anyway, the first chapter, someone dies. He's like second in charge of this empire that's occupying them. And then the next, like 7 to 10 chapters, is a different character. And there's like this domino effect of whatever happens to this character sort of impacts the next character. So I was like, I'm having a hard time getting into this. I wonder why. There's so many characters, and each character has this like long backstory, and they're getting all tied together, and I'm enjoying it a lot more. I think, is Evie here? Evie said that it gets better like at the 50% point, and I agree, and I'm into it now, but I just realized there's no main character. That's why I was having like sort of this trouble sort of grasping this story as like, why is this so different? It's because there's no main character. I guess you could say the city is a main character, but and it's about this revolution and all this stuff. So it's interesting. I do recommend it. I kind of think it's literary because the writing feels elevated. Adrian Tchaikovsky, if you don't know, he's British. So every once in a while, he has this dry, a wry sense of humor that comes through. And yeah, it's interesting. Frank is reading All Focus, or excuse me, All Forwards by Alexandra July. Word on the street is pretty raunchy. Don't know it. Finished Game of Thrones and Philosophy. Huh. Covers 5 books in the first season of the show. Huh. I never thought about Games of Thrones and philosophy. It's very interesting. Oh, this Adrian Tchaikovsky trilogy is called Tyrant Philosophers. So there's like all this philosophy getting sort of thrown at you. No main character sounds odd. Yeah, it's very interesting. It's called City of Last Chances by Adrian Tchaikovsky. It's a trilogy. I believe all 3 books are out. At least I hope it's a trilogy. If it goes beyond 3, I'm not going to be happy. But yeah. Gave away a book by Adrian without reading it. Alien Clay. Don't know that. Enjoyed the section about the morals of Ned, Cersei, and Tyrion. Yeah. Tyrion, well, Ned is like, Ned Stark is like too moral. Tyrion seems to be like have the right balance of reality and morality. Cersei has no morality. Read it was too grim. Oh, the Alien Clay. Okay, so I was thinking of doing orange or sunset or this type of color. So we'll start with So we'll just start with black. I'm not feeling that great because I think I think my allergies are kicking in. They really slammed me yesterday, but, been taking, allergy meds and, it always gets me at the, change of seasons. These are really, not symmetrical. Let's try this. Okay. Ned was too moral for his own, his family, and Norse good. Yeah. Sure you want orange today reminds me of someone bad. Let's say sunset, not orange. Two of my siblings were redheads. Just when you thought he couldn't get worse, Frank, he went nuclear. Yeah. Cliff's Finn is a redhead. She hates it. Oh, gosh. I guess I could do brown and then a sunset lid. Let's try that. It does feel like we're living in interesting times. Like them, but brunettes like me better. There just aren't that many redheads around. Also reading a Japanese mystery. Oh, set after World War II. Lori isn't here. Worrying Times, yeah. Okay, let me try. Oops. Yeah, so I think I'm just going to film Shelve It or Shove It for next month. So I'm not feeling so hot. I think I might have done too much brown. Let's see if we can tone it down. Dokie. Yes, that's an ancient Chinese curse. Interesting times. I reckon I am behind my reading due to spending too much time on watching world events. Can only watch so much to turn it off. I have Convenient Store Woman on my wish list. Plan to read 6 Japanese books this year. Great. The character is a female version of me. Going on strong these days. I'm not sure what country I'll read books from next year, maybe French or Korea or Canada, perhaps. I think Korea is interesting. I read that book, Same Bed, Different Dreams, that from a Korean American writer about it has a lot of Korean history on it. It was the one that was Was it the Pulitzer? It's some big literary award. It was a contender. But I'm kind of curious about Korean literature because I don't believe I've read anything, but I know they're like on Netflix or some of the streaming channels. Korean dramas are huge, and comedies and speculative. And I've seen a couple. Um, but what I find curious is how long they are. I was watching one that had a really interesting premise about this guy who's sort of a womanizing. I don't know if he was misogynist, but he wasn't. Maybe a little bit misogynist, but he's like a contemporary man, and he gets his soul switched into the body of an empress. It's called like Mr. Queen or something. Way back, 1,000 years ago. So it's like a historical comedy drama type weird thing. But anyway, so I was watching it and I was like kind of amused by it. But then I just got really tired of it. The story just kept going on and on. And I was like on episode 10, and there's like 20 episodes. So I just couldn't get through it. It's just, I think if I was like watching it one episode a week, if it was like a weekly show, I would have loved it. But that's a problem with streaming shows where they just release so many episodes at once that you can binge them and then just get burnt out. Any Korean men are upset she won. Oh, for the Nobel. Okay. Were you against Dylan winning it too? I don't keep up with the Nobel. I read a Korean book called The Hole. A man paralyzed in a car accident that killed his wife is being looked by his mother-in-law, and she starts digging a huge hole in the backyard. I read her. It's men who don't like her. I think I vaguely remember that story. Okay, anyway, we're gonna cut the crease and go with no. Let's first put on some liner. Yeah, genetically, Koreans and Japanese are pretty hard to tell apart. Because what I did the 23andMe, and I'm 50% Japanese, of course, but they listed as Japanese and Korean. because I think the Japanese have invaded Korea so often that the genetic mix is you can no longer really tell apart. Okay. I don't know, have not read her book. Who's the author we're talking about? Reports about Korean men hating her. I think I remember reading an article as that too. I think she supports the 4B movement in Korea. Remember that horrible story about the Austrian woman who held underground for years by her own dad? She's no dating, no sex. Yeah, I remember reading this story, the article, the news story, not the book. Okay. Yeah, it's always disturbing hearing those stories about people that are kept captive for long periods of time. Just what is the motivation? Okay. Just looked her up. Her name is Han King. Han Kang. I might read one of her books later this year. Bookish. Texan really likes Kang. recommended her to me. Okay, we're going to start light with yellow. Apparently, the Oscars is this weekend. And we'll probably watch it. Just have a feeling this year. I just don't know. I don't know any of these movies. A little like male incels, except they claim it's involuntary or incels. Yeah, stands for involuntary celibacy. I haven't followed the Oscar for years. I've only been to the cinema once since the start of the pandemic. My mom loves it. Yeah, but Dennis, my husband, loves it too. So, okay, so yeah, think the only thing I've seen is Dune 2, which is like visual effects or something. I think the term that does it voluntary is vol cell. Something stupid usually happened on the show. Okay. Somebody would say I am voiceless, but as I am asexual, I don't think the term can be right for me. I like the term ace for asexual, ace. I'm a little like MGTOW. Okay, lost me there. Volcel, not voiceless. Okay. I've always been sexual, whether I like it or not. It's called hormones. I guess that's not really true. It's so much of sexuality is psychological. But okay. Plan to read City of Ghosts this month. If I remember correctly, you didn't like the V. Schwab book of that name. No. Well, I didn't. It wasn't my favorite middle grade. Men going their own way. If I push a button to get rid of sex for me only, I think I would. Huh, interesting. Yeah, I can tell how sometimes sex can be annoying or your response to it. I think I have sort of a low sex drive as compared to other people that I know. Okay. Okay, definitely not even, but I think that's what we're gonna go with. Hey, Mooney is here. Thank you, Mooney. Got one uni homework grade up. I have got 97. That is terrific. 97 out of 100. Big fan of Russian lit, especially 19th century. My best friend and his boyfriend. I have 3 books called Shiver. I plan to read at least 2 of them this year. I also got a book that is called Damned Things Weird and Ghost. Damned. Sounds like a ghost story. Oh, can you believe in Shelve It or Shove It, I picked up an anthology? Uh, I guess it had to happen eventually. Okie I don't mind the occasional short story collection. I actually like some of the stories. Once I used to read short stories far more than I do today. I am exactly the same. I remember in the probably 70s, 80s, I read much more short stories. I was subscribed to a few of the magazines that, like, which ones I had? I think I had Asimov science fiction for a time, and I know I had fantasy and science fiction. And here's a throwback: Omni. Because I felt smart having Omni because it was had science, fact, and fiction. Usually, I had like two short stories, and the rest were science articles. Or I was a big fan of like Harlan Ellison's Dangerous Visions books. I started reading Clive Barker, Books of Blood, mostly because I was curious of why he was everyone was talking about him. Um, Larry Niven had an interesting collection of short stories. I know for a few years I picked up the Scientology guys, L. Ron Hubbard's Writers of the Future. He would like have a contest with a short story. I don't know how much of that was recruitment for Scientology. I think the contest was pretty legit. I think it might still be going on, Writers of the Future. There just isn't a market for short fiction like there used to be. Some short stories I really like, such as Ray Bradbury's Kaleidoscope and Flannery O'Connor, A Good Man is Hard to Find. Yeah, Bradbury grew up in the, or came famous during the age of the short stories. Like Martian Chronicles is all short stories. And Dandelion Wine, he has a lot of great collections of The Illustrated Man, of short stories. I love The 9 Billion Names of God by Arthur C. Clarke. Loved Omni. Hemingway's stories were supposed to be a lot better than most of his novels. I haven't read that much Hemingway, read a little bit. The Mouse by Howard Fast. Loved Clarke, but didn't read that one. Loved Omni, yay! Sci-fi and science for dummies. 9 Billion Names of God is Buddhist monks gathering the names of God. Then they get a computer that makes their job faster. I love that. Talked to Clive on radio show once. Great guy. Very interesting guy. And I still think I have them back here. Weave World and Imagica are two great works of speculative fiction. I call them dark fantasy, contemporary fantasy. Hate Hubbard, refused to read his books later. Yeah, I read one of his, this is way back in the 80s. I read one of his books just to see what it was like. His like big long series, and it was okay. But I mean, creating that religion, Scientology, it's just total grifter, yeah. More money-making operation than real religion, why it was banned in Germany. And sci-fi was god awful. I thought technically it was fine. It wasn't great, but it was fine. Illustrated Man, great book. And I don't even really care about the money-making part of his so-called religion. It's being a cult. It's the way they isolate people. And I mean, if you read some of the stuff by like Leah Remini, who have been in there and who have come out of it, it's just the cult-like behavior just is really troublesome. Not to mention, if some of the reports are true, it's like they're physically holding people and beating people. And anyway, and I agree, Frank. Illustrated Man is one of Bradbury's great works. The word movie is really bad. Battlefield. That's the one I saw the first. I read the first book in that, like a 20 book series. Can't separate the art from the artist. It's hard to do. For me, it's easier to do when they're not alive or a lot of time has passed. And it's easy to say, I mean, I still think Neil Gaiman's uh, works are great um, pieces of literature, but I'm not going to retroactively say they're trash because of the issues that he's going through. Um, like I still say, Marion Zimmer Bradley's Mists of Avalon is one of the great works of Arthurian fantasy, but it's like, for me, it's hard to read her. Okay, I think we're done. We went through this fast. I'm not doing any glitter today, just FBI investigated. It said people were not actually being held against their will. I feel that if you separate the art from the artist, you're forgetting the victims. I hear that. I left the last game and books in the little free library last week. Did you like? Yes, I did like American Gods. Yeah. And they're apparently still going to release the last season of Sandman on Netflix, and that's probably the last. And I will watch it. I love the Sandman. But anyway, get into drag. Oh, did you hear about um, Gene Hackman? He's I mean, I always liked his work, but he mysteriously died with his wife and dog. And everyone thought it was carbon monoxide poisoning, but they said no, it wasn't. So something weird went on there. I mean, it's not two people and their dog don't just die of natural causes. I grabbed it. This red here, and it looks almost maroon, doesn't it? Did one of you call this wig like Peg Bundy? It's now I can't stop seeing it. does my face look so white? Yeah. American Gods was your top 5. Gene Hackman's story is a bit of a mystery. Yeah. Read American God 3 times. I like Gene a lot too. He had such a distinct persona that some actors have. You know, he didn't have like a wide range like Meryl Streep or someone like that. But what he could do was really, uh, really made an impression. And I loved him in The Birdcage, the Nathan Lane, Robin Williams movie. And it is a mystery. And I'm very curious to find out what the final report will be. Okay, guys, this is the final look. It is sort of this jungle theme with the sunset eyes and a red wig. And that's it. Never watched The Birdcage. Oh my gosh, Lynette. I think you would love it. The and the Casio Fall, the French version is really good too. The one difference between the two, I prefer the American version except for the son. If you don't know this story, it's about this gay couple raise a son, and the son's getting married, and his wife, wife to be, fiance, is the daughter of a very, very conservative politician. And in the Birdcage, Gene Hackman played the politician. But in the French version, the son is so likable. He's so charming. And in the American version, the son is a bit of a not very likable person. So I recommend both those movies. So, okay, guys. And today, I think I'm just going to film Shove It or Shove It for next month. We'll see. And I should be back next week. So until then, may all the books you read be blessed.